Hey friends, John here from Proverbs 27:9 Fragrance. And today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and first impressions on the very first fragrance that I've ever smelled from Bond number 9, and it's Wall Street. So if you would, go ahead and like this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this fragrance or this house. And make sure you got the notifications turned on. That way you're notified every time we upload this sweet smelling fragrance related content. So I was at a local, and this, by the way, is take number 2 on this video. I filmed the entire video, went to check it. I had lights flickering. It was in slow motion, the weirdest thing ever. But anyways, we was doing some shopping last night in the Germantown area of Memphis, which is a nice shopping area, very nice part of town. And we went inside of Marshall's, and I had seen different YouTubers talk about their TJ Maxx, their Marshalls, their Ross, whatever, and they got these niche fragrances. I bought this Creed at Ross. I got, my TJ Maxx got this Frederick Mall fragrance or this Byredo fragrance. I've never seen anything like that in any of the TJ Maxx's, Ross's, Marshalls, any of those stores like that in our area. Even when we're in Nashville or down in Orlando, I've never really found, I found some niche fragrances, but never any of the real expensive high-end things that you can't get hugely discounted. And so when we went in here, went to the perfume case, and this is what I saw. There was some nicer things. There was like Versace Eros, and there was some Calvin Klein fragrances that you don't see very often, like Truth and things of that nature. And if that would have been all they had, would have been better case than normal. But as I got around, the other side, I saw this Bond number 9 box laying down there. Didn't know what was in it. Didn't have any markings on it. But I thought, I got to see what this is. So called for the person to come and open the case. While I did that, I Googled to see what I could buy this particular fragrance for. Actually, no, I didn't. I didn't do that until after they had came. So they come and open it because there wasn't anything on the box that said the name of it. So I opened it up, and it was Wall Street, right? And so I was excited about the name of the fragrance. I thought, Wall Street, this is probably going to be a fougere or a boozy tobacco fragrance. It's going to smell like money. It's going to smell like leather and, all these different things that you'd associate with high-end, big-time players, Wall Street, stockbrokers, things of that nature. And so I noticed the price tag on it was $240. It was quite a bit more than I was thinking it would be. So while we're standing there, I Googled and I saw what you could buy this fragrance for $150 or less at discounters. So it had already been opened. So I took the lid off, put 2 sprays on my hand, put the lid on it, handed it back to her. I said, "Thank you very much. I want to think about it." And so smelled it. Nothing at all what I was thinking it would be. There's, again, if you know this fragrance, this is a fruity aquatic fragrance. Melon, cucumber, very salty aquatic, seaweed, ambergris, something similar to Millesime Imperial. In fact, I thought when I smelled it, it smelled like a blend of Millesime Imperial and Kenzo Homme. The Eau de Toilette is the only one that I've had, the one in the bamboo bottle. And I thought it smelled like kind of both of those fragrances. So very weird marketing for this type of fragrance. But smelled fresh, salty, aquatic, little animalic with the seaweed ambergris. But okay, not something I would want to spend $240 for. I went over to my wife and said, "You want to smell a $440 fragrance?" Because that was the retail price at Neiman Marcus. She said, "Sure." So smelled it. She said, "I wouldn't pay $30 for that." And I kind of laughed and I said, "Well, yeah, that's about what a good, not necessarily clone, but a good alternative to this fragrance is, because if you bought Armaf's version of Millésime Impérial, Club de Nuit, and whatever the gold bottle, I've had that, sold it. But if you bought that, or if you bought Kenzo Homme, you'd be paying somewhere in the $30-$35 range. So but she didn't like it. So I started scrolling for Granica, and I noticed that this fragrance had a lot of bad reviews. Seemed to be fragrance that a few people loved and many people hated. And I kept seeing this same comment: smells like a wet dog. And I thought, well, that's strange. There was a sourness to it. There was a little bit of an animalic, seaweedy type. Didn't smell like fish, shrimp. It wasn't like, it had that kind of sea funk to it, and definitely didn't smell like a wet dog. Again, the notes that stuck out was the kind of fruity melon and the salty, seaweedy, sea breeze, aquatic type of aroma. There was a little bit of some kind of mineralic, sea funk, just a little bit. But I didn't think it was anything that should garner this type of response. About 30 minutes in, it started to change a little bit, and the mineral nature to it kind of intensified. It was a little more sharp mineral. I don't know why I keep saying mineral. Mineralic. There was a little bit of that. It seemed like the ambergris was starting to come out a little bit. It was a little bit of what I would just classify as kind of a sour mineral type sharpness that come out, but still was pleasant. And you only really got that if you really got up on it. If you was just wafting it in front of you, you was just kind of getting that melony, aquatic nature. Then about the hour and 15-minute mark is when the dog showed up. And the dog started barking. And to be honest with you, it never really got to the wet dog point to me. A wet dog is a very strong, pungent aroma. But this smelled more like the skin of a dog. Like if you've ever, I'm not a big animal person, but, if you've ever rubbed a dog's belly and then kind of smelled your hand, or smelt the dog, you're nuzzling it or whatever, dogs have a particular aroma. Their skin smells different than our skin. It smells like dog, And then when a dog gets wet, it just intensifies. Kind of like a kid, kids, they smell a certain way, and then they get hot or whatever outside, and their smell intensifies. They kind of get that animalic smell to them or whatever. But anyways, so the dog started barking about the hour and 15-minute mark, and it wailed the rest of the night. It did come out, and there was always that melony, fruity, sea, foam, aquatic nature with it. But I got what many folks is saying. Before it got to that wet dog mark, there was another comment I saw. Some folks said to them it smelled like money. And I thought, well, maybe that's why they called it Wall Street. Maybe it was supposed to smell like money, and it did. Now, a lot of people said smelled like clean, fresh $100 bills. To me, it didn't. To me, it smelled more like used, not only dollar bills, but change. It had that metallic, smell that, if you ever grabbed a handful of change out of a bucket and kind of smelled it, you've got that mixture of dirt and people's sweat and metal from the change and all that. And it had that. And that was that mineral, metallic nature. But once the dog started barking, that's all I could smell the rest of the night. It never got any better. I looked up, this was a 2004 release, and it didn't smell outdated, but it didn't smell new. It kind of smelled like that time frame. David Appel was the perfumer there, and he's done some pretty big things. He did Bleecker Street, which is a Bond No. 9 fragrance, which I've never smelled, but it's one of their popular ones. He did Tom Ford's Black Orchid, probably what he's best known for, I would imagine. Sean John Unforgivable, which he did around the same time. I'm not sure which one come out first, but they're both in that Millésime Imperial, range. So he probably made either this fragrance, and if I was guessing, I'd say he probably did Sean John Unforgivable first, and then Bond No. 9 smelled it and said, "Hey, can you do something like that for us?" But but I would say, probably looking at his stuff, the one that made him famous was probably Sunflowers by Elizabeth Arden, which was a huge fragrance back in the 90s and 2000s, and is still a good seller today. Still one of Elizabeth Arden's best sellers. So, and I've been familiar with that fragrance ever since it came out. Had girls I was dating in high school was wearing Sunflowers. My wife, when we first got married, one of the few fragrances she owned. So that was a big one. This guy is a good perfumer, but this one was a miss for me. So it was a miss from the smell, the fragrance. It was a miss on the marketing. Why would you name this fragrance Wall Street? This should have been something, Wet Dog by the Seaside. I understand they're not going to name it that, but something aquatic. I can't stand it when the fragrance, it all should make sense. If, whatever it smells like, the name should exude that. The color scheme should exude that. The bottle shape, all, of course, with Bond No. 9, all of them are stars, but all of it. It's black and gold on this bottle to represent money and wealth. There's nothing about this fragrance that's screaming black and gold. This should be seafoam green and white and pink and blue. Something that gives you the idea of a driftwood sea market or something like that. So it's just a big miss for me in all regards. What do you think about this fragrance? Have you ever smelled it? What do you think about Bond No. 9? Does Bond No. 9 have a fragrance that I should go out there and get? Do they have something that smells like what Wall Street should have smelled like? A real good, either fougere or boozy tobacco fragrance. It's smells like class and money. So, if so, let me know down in the comments. Like, share the video, do all those things. Until I see you down the road, I say God bless. Frag on, Frag fam.